Hello fellow traders, and welcome to this new webinar on my unconventional Forex trading channel. Today is the 6th of December 2019. It's Friday, markets are almost going to close, and the purpose of this video I'm publishing is in order to accomplish a kind of demonstration and as well tutorial for those who are already owning and using the tools that I'm about to show, and also of course showing the possibility of applying math for the daily Forex analysis using spreadsheets, so therefore using Excel. Have to be honest, the last months I got so many mails and also Skype contacts requesting to have this tool, and of course for those who were supporting the project and decided to do that, I decided to create a tailored version of my tools, especially Excel, on which they could have had some kind of reliable template to start and to create their own strategy accordingly to math. Basically is that. And so this video will have this purpose, and this kind of curiosity from you public in regards to this topic has been rising day by day, just because of some videos that I've posted and in the past. And of course, if you are new to this channel and you would like to have more information, I strongly suggest you also to take a look to my previous videos that are published both in the channel and also in the playlist of this channel, so you can have a better overview of what I'm talking about today. So let's go into the stuff, and I hope to become useful also in this case, also in this presentation. And of course here I have a MetaTrader account for demonstration and for educational purposes, where I applied, of course as usual, my approach to Forex and to Forex analysis, and with the statement of a week of trading, this week of trading, the very first week of December 2019. I'm saying you, of course, the time we are referring to, so that you can, and I strongly invite you to verify the content and the charts with your own charts, and you will see everything will match. So there is no scam on this. It's just that I would like really to share at least the attitude that it's possible somehow. I'm not saying to beat the market. The market is unbeatable because it's managed by evil people, but somehow that can be more predictable less stressful, and more convenient at a certain point, even in terms of profitability. So let's start from some results, and then we go into the topic and into the tools I'm talking about. So as you may notice here, I have the historical trades I performed in this week, and as usual my counter my UFO expert advisor is running still, so I can have a confrontation with the values of my spreadsheets is still running for a while until the markets are going. We may notice here I have a balance of 15,206.13 units, dollars in this case, or let me check, is in dollar or it's in deposit. No, yeah, it's dollars. So this is the total balance at the end of the week, starting from an initial balance of $10,000. Now we have 15,206.13. So we had a plus 5,000. Okay, you know the math in this case. Let's show the statement. So these were the very first trades I made at the beginning of the week on Monday, and these were the only ones that I made swing trading. As you may notice, we have the swap commissions. Okay, so these trades were closed from the 2 to the 4th, so after 2 days. This was the only trade that I made as a swing trading. You know, there are specific days, Mondays, Fridays, beginning of the month, that have also some fundamental reasons to move prices with a specific behavior, so they're less predictable. Then all the other trades that I made on the 4th, on the 5th and on the 6th were intraday. Okay, so no swaps, nothing about that, only the commissions for the trades. That's it, very simple. This is the graphical representation of the final balance in a week. So this is quite a positive result. I got some negative trades, of course. Also, I can feel like everybody, but the important thing is that when you trade just one currency pair, you amplify the risk, while when you're trading a portfolio of currency pairs, the risk is mitigated, is reduced somehow, or more controlled, and therefore even if there are some negative results, the overall performance is quite impressive. In order to go with this, I based my analysis on what we see here, which is the tool I'm talking about. And this tool, of of course, is based on oh, okay, just let me do a brief statement before. Okay. Let's see if we can make it. Yeah. I made a video on this, I published a video on this, but I want just to briefly recap so that it's clear how it works. In order to have a spreadsheet with all the data of 28 currency pairs that then with formulas are converted in 8 currency values, and then from these 8 currencies we can apply our math and charting. Okay, we need to feed a spreadsheet, this is Excel, with data, FX data, Forex data. Okay. This information comes from an expert advisor that I have built that runs on MT4, which gives in real time the information of the prices, and then through a batch routine that it's recalled from Visual Basic code in Excel, creates this process that from the EA, which creates CSV files with all the prices. I would say in a batch routine that is transferring these files into a spreadsheet. Okay, because of some Visual Basic, some macros created in Excel. Then we can go along through all this process. For those who are owning this setup on their computer, I have to make some punctualizations in regards to the performance of this expert advisor, which works really well. Sometimes there can be problems, and with this then I solve also this tutorial part, which is important anyway to make notice. From time to time, I mean, it can be that one day there is no interruption at all, other days that can be 1 or 2 interruptions. So in that case, the expert advisor must be reloaded on the chart. It works on one chart only. There can happen some issues that are not related to the expert advisor, because I'm experiencing this by myself with daily frequency. But as you may notice, our brokers are not very totally fair or whatever, or also our operating system can have some issues. For example, when in Windows 10 we're having the updates that are automatically recalled by the OS, it can happen that this will interrupt or somehow corrupt the normal internet flow, and because of this, MetaTrader will kind of stop of receiving data for a while. And the solution in this case is to just perform the Windows Update feature and then reload the Expert Advisor on MT4, and everything is working fine. There are other cases where all of a sudden we have this broken connection or no connection from the broker, and of course also in this case, if we have something that is expecting data in order to create all this workflow and is not receiving data, it stops. This is why also when we are talking about automation and trading robots, these are kind of events, so broker side, and even if we have internet connection but we don't have the connection for the broker, even for milliseconds or for some seconds, and then broker again goes back to the normal data feed, even in these cases we cannot predict that, but it happens that the EA stops. And in this case we have to wait for the broker to get back to the normal activity, reload the Expert Advisor, which is a matter of 1 minute, not even that, and then things go back again as normal. Okay, with this punctualization I stop this part and I go back to the spreadsheets. Anyway, I hope you have clear in mind that in order to have something that works with real-time behavior, must have this kind of setup. Okay, so some data that are collected and then sent and loaded on the Excel spreadsheet, and then refresh it, you know, the math and the formulas, and therefore the charting. Okay, good. So this is a kind of preface that I had to do for sure. Okay, so let's go back to our spreadsheet. This is the final result. Of course, here now we are observing the day of Friday. We have 8 currencies. You may see here: Euro, Dollar, CAD, Swiss franc, GBP, Aussie, New Zealand dollar, and Yen. And through the calculation of these spreadsheets, okay, we arrive to the clue, the only element that we really need to focus on, and also if we want to create our own formulas. I have settled up something very simple, but then you can start with, and then you can go with your own creativity if you like. But this is the start, the beginning. So, why did I organize the cells this way? So let's give a brief recap to the controls. Actually, I'm not doing anything, so I have my MetaTrader running with the other UFO, and basically what it's here, this chart and these values are replying the UFO engine calculation, but here we have some more information because we have the historical price action, if we can call it that way, that of course has to be read from right to left. This mentally, it's also a kind of from right to left, because the very first data are at the top. So the present moment, it's here at the top, and then backwards in time. This way, every time I upload the files, the data feed from the files folder in Excel, and then I refresh my Excel, so we have just to make a double click on this button, and then we have also the completion of the percentage of data. In this case we are having 360 bars of maximum data. Here I'm loading only 100 because it's for the day on a 50 minutes time frame. Okay, so this is the kind of accuracy that I'm having, and this is quite enough to analyze the day. Every time this performance, so a double click here once all the files are loaded, and then also an alarm signal is generated by MT4 to advise me that the data are loaded. I have some seconds for creating an update of my files and a refresh of my Excel spreadsheets. Then MetaTrader starts again to recount and recreate all the data feed, and then all this information is going on a row below, and then I will have my new updated first value. So this way these charts are progressing from left to right, and we have the beginning of the day here and the present time here. I think I will do anyway, just because there are 10 minutes left. Let's see if we can make it and create an update in real time so that we can better analyze our information. Okay, so let's try to do this. Just give me a moment, and in the meantime that I'm preparing also this thing, so I am loading another MetaTrader on which I've loaded the expert advisor, and then the expert advisor, let's see if it's running. So then I can make a final update before the markets are closing. Okay, so let's give it a moment to do this. Let's see. Okay, so in a brief moment you will hear a sound, and then I will perform, so I can show also this part. Okay, effectively now if I am clicking and creating this, you can see, okay, now I'm having an extra, it's going above 100%, because I was having previous files, so we have to be patient a moment, and then I will do this in a couple of minutes. Okay. Meantime, I want to show what it's about, this Excel spreadsheet. So here we have for Euro, Dollar, CAD, Swiss franc, GBP, Aussie, New Zealand dollar and yen, the currencies displayed. And this information, see, this is now our first update, we have to wait for a new one. Here I was saying I have the graphical representation of these 8 lines that we read from right to left. Therefore, this is the behavior of the day of the currencies. We see that New Zealand dollar went up, GBP at a certain point fell down, then at this moment in time was the beginning of the American session. There was the non-farm payroll event both for Canadian dollar and for US dollar, and in fact US dollar went strongly up and Canadian dollar fell completely. You may of course check in your own charts. And so this is the graphical representations of the currency behavior in the day of the Friday, the 6th of December 2019. Here we have the 28 pairs behavior, so we can see that, for example, here we have the GBP New Zealand dollar, which was the weakest pair to trade, GBP sell and New Zealand dollar buy. New Zealand dollar buy, GBP sell, as well as other currencies. So we have the whole behavior, the whole 28 charts normalized and providing a sense of movement. So now I am finally updating my spreadsheets. So you can see here we have this hour, okay, and now by double clicking here after the sound, now I am refreshing Excel and I wait some seconds, and as you can see the charts are updating accordingly to the formulas that are used to create the currencies. And then this is something I will talk in a minute. So now I have updated, and also I have created a new point in time of my calculation, which I know in the future, if I want to check or make some further analysis, even if the markets are off, I can always refer to a specific moment of time. Therefore, I can take the present point of my analysis and go back with the bars, knowing that this moment is represented by this time on the charts. Okay, so this will be also very easy, because every time we do an update, or every hour, it depends on the frequency, we can always save our charts and then create and save the file with the new sequence number. Therefore, we have a progression, and maybe in a day we can have 10 spreadsheets, always with the progression of the pairs, and we can make our experiments, calculations, formulas, ideas, whatever we want. Okay, so now these charts are representing now I can close, of course, the Excel, are representing what is going at this point in time on, let's keep a new chart, on a 15-minute chart. Okay, 15-minute charts from the beginning of the day till the end of the day. In fact, let's check, and I can see that New Zealand dollar from, let's say, the bar, let me just do some extra to be more clear, at least for this purpose. Okay, let's check also this. Okay, so it's more clear this way. Let's focus for a moment on this chart. Okay. So we may notice that from that 81, 79, 80, 81 bars ago, from the present moment, from this moment in time, that is of course related in this case to my time zone, but at the same time we can make the transpose for the server time on MetaTrader. But anyway, when we operate in real time, doesn't matter, because we know that we have just made our data update and refresh. So by simply going on in the charts and going back in time from the present candle, going in this case 80, 81, which is here, okay, at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning server time, we had effectively that New Zealand dollar was strong and GBP was weak. And this is a movement of 130, 140, 40 pips. Okay. And basically, we could have anyway noticed that at the beginning of the day, the GBP New Zealand dollar was already the pair to be traded somehow. It's like a kind of filter in this case, or a kind of confirmation of the analysis here. Or we can notice, for example, that at this point in time, the graphical representation of the CAD, this is the CAD, okay, and the US dollar is saying to me that in this area we had this jump up, this big spike up of USD and CAD, and also of course USD long against yen, against Aussie, also against New Zealand dollar, and as well against euro, because this is a great spike, and same way but the opposite sense, so CAD short against these currencies. If we go and check, for example, USD CAD, this moment in time on a 15 minutes chart from this point, it occurs at 34, okay, and here we have this moment represented, this is 35, okay. We have always to pay attention to the fact that it's not precise 100%, in the sense that here we're starting from 1 backwards, but in the charts the present bar is 0, so we have to consider that if it's 35 in this enumeration in real is 34. But these are, details that you have only to keep in mind. Is not that a problem. Of course, this is the graphical representations of what the markets did, but of course it's also hard to read in the time before that this move would be expected this way, because if we see in the very previous periods before the move, USD and CAD were basically flat. At the beginning of the day we were having more focus on the London session, where of course GBP and Euro were moving more than other pairs, but here is not very clear. This is what the markets did. Okay, so why using math with Excel and in order to predict the analysis? In my opinion, math, it's like, as I said also in my previous webinars, the 75% of the analysis. If we are traders, anyway, we have to be somehow connected to the markets, and by some simple tools that are available for free on the internet, we can really also know this news. We can have an awareness on that, which is a bit like trading fundamentals, but it's not exactly trading on the news. I'm referring just that we know that there are some major events that are occurring with a certain frequency, on where central banks, big institutions, make the prices, and of course they will flat everything, so that will not be predictable. So we have to assume that at that moment, for example today, at that time I was still having lunch with friends, so I was not even in that situation. Even sometimes it's very nice to catch and those moves, but in real, when I have a very smooth movement of the pairs towards the directions for some hours, and then I realize some profit, I can always decide, and that's what I do, to close my trades, take the profit, get out of the markets, and relax and do something else in the day. But these things somehow are predictable, in the sense that we can expect them, because we know that we have to keep in mind that there are also big hands that are moving, because they have some important data that we will have with some delay, and so they can make the move prior to any other operator. Monetary mass or things like that, non-farm payrolls, reports, unemployment rates, these are kind of fundamental things that, in my opinion, has to be taken in consideration, at least for knowing where not to operate in the markets, also in conjunction with the fact that, for me, still the most important fundamental event is just that we know if we are trading at the beginning of the Asian session, at the beginning of the London session, at the beginning of the American session. So we can really reduce with math the fundamental analysis to these simple events, and also to events that can increase volatility, that can go in our favor or against us. So we have to be really aware that in this case we have to understand that in the moment there could be great profitability, great profit, or also great loss. So we can decide to stay out, or unless we have other tools that are allowing us to be more accurate and have the trades in the proper direction. So this is a very important tool that I use every day for my analysis. Okay, but along with this, I have created another bunch of columns on which I can put my formulas. And these formulas come out in this next chart. Okay, you can see that. So, for example, in this formula, I have the 6 periods moving average, which is the, let's keep it this way, you know, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, their sum divided by 6. So, as you may notice, this is kind of average. That is not applied to the currency pairs chart, but it's applied to the currencies, which can give me a more smooth information, less fractal, but somehow efficient anyway. But as you may know, that we can create many other formulas, okay? And I will show you an example, a practical example. Okay. Let's just briefly also see this panel that for today I will not cover as much as a simple example. We can also have, in this case, another bunch of information that it's a real-time information that can give us more ability to handle this information with the kind of alert, okay? And this, of course, is based on logical stuff, for example, in this case, but you can follow any tutorial on Excel for as regard this part, because this is Excel foundation. For example, this one says that if the currency value on B2 is minor to 0, is negative, and if the cell in the same value of the 6 moving average is lower than 0 simultaneously, then I can sell. Otherwise I will do nothing, like, you know, this case is like this blanks here. And if this is positive and this is positive, I can buy. So in this case, you see, for example, USD is positive both here and here in this moment, and therefore I have a buy. So this is more logical stuff. It's a kind of, what would I do the moment an event occurs in this formula? Okay, if it's major to 0, if it's positive or negative. Very simple. Because this way, we are somehow trying to replicate and create a model of the market for that day. So what if, for this moment, we can focus only on this, because this part is a kind of extra that we can do in a second moment. But anyway, this part comes from this formula application, so this is the important thing that we also have here. So let's say, for example, that instead of doing this formula, I would like to do another formula. So first of all, what I suggest is simply that instead of going and we can have more, we can have 10 formulas, we can have 100 formulas. Instead of writing in the very same space, which can be, we can lose our previous work because we are overwriting something, which is not the case, because we can simply create a copy of this update spreadsheet, final spreadsheet. So we can create a new copy. Let's leave it that way, but we can also say, for example, that give more information, and in this case I will do an oscillator. So I can simply create here oscillator. While here we are having the 6 periods simple moving average. Okay, so this one as this formula. So let's try to create a different formula on a new spreadsheet, so if I can also make some comparisons, by switching from a tab to another. And in this case, instead of having this formula, let's try to create, you can find on the internet a lot of formulas of the oscillator, so it's up to you also to give some room and space to your creativity, or if you have your own ideas on that, it's good to test and see the results and see how the results can help to give more accuracy to your analysis. So let's do this, and let's say, for example, to create a simple oscillator, and let's create an average. In this case, I will write the formula, and then we will go on the formula for a while. So let's create an average, for example, of the cells B2 and B6 minus the average minus the average of the cells, let's say B2 and B20. And now I will explain what I'm doing, and I will show also how to create your own formulas this way. B20. Okay, so basically what I'm saying here, I'm create me the average of a short period of time and a longer period of time, and make the difference. Okay, so when I'm doing this, basically I am applying this formula to the present time, in this case because it's just one cell, present time of the euro currency, which is this one. Okay, of course I need, and as you may notice, this value has completely changed, but I need to propagate this formula for all the currencies and for all the periods of my analysis, periods that belong to this part that has to be immutable, because this is the currencies, this is this chart, this is the behavior of the currencies which I start my analysis from. Okay, so in order to do this, it's a very simple procedure, which I really copy the formula, and as you may notice, this has changed for the present bar, and then I propagate for all the periods. So I'm getting this weird but very useful, I think, information. Okay, so now how do we work with the oscillator? Of course, I can save my spreadsheet, so in this case I can also have I can create another copy, and I can have a copy of this at this moment in time. Okay, so just in this case, now markets are closed, the end of the day is gone. Let's see if it's true. Yeah, so the time is not moving anymore, is fixed, so now the data are still okay, also in this element. Okay, so let's go back here. So basically now we have a formula of the 6 moving average of these currencies, and now we have an oscillator of these currencies. So let's give a look to the same elements. For example, let's consider, let me see in real time, so I can isolate my values and I can focus, for example, to the very first moment of the day when GBP made this action, and also let's check Zealand dollar. Okay, and I apply. This case I have an oscillation of only two pairs, but I can always recall all of them. Okay, this is basic use of Excel. We may notice that we have at the 57 bars ago from the present moment, we were having this event of falling of the GBP and rising of the New Zealand dollar. Then from bar approximately 49, we were having also this information of rising that was going then from negative to positive and stay in the positive part of the chart of the GBP. Accordingly to a movement of the currency, real movement of the currency in this way, up. So 49, 48, 49 from 57. Okay, so let's check the charts. Again, GBP, New Zealand dollar. So let's check by analyzing the markets with an oscillator in this case. So 48, where is this? Yes, 56, it's 40. Oh, sorry, I'm checking wrong. 57, yeah, 57. Sorry, 57. 57 here, 56, 57, this moment, okay, which is 9:45, 9:45. So let's grab an indication at 9:45. Okay, then we're having at the movement of 45 or 49, because we can read this at this point, okay, 47, 48, 49. So let's go back in time and check 50, 47, 48, 47. Okay, so at 11:45, around that time. In this case, by observing with the oscillator, we would have made 68 pips, around 57, 60 pips, okay, of pure sell, going short, and we would have realized that by observing our oscillator, we could have decided to enter short here and exit our trade with the profit because of the movement that has been detected by the analysis of the oscillation of New Zealand dollar and GBP. So by having this restrengthening of the GBP, we could have decided at this point to stop the trade, of course with profit. Okay, please verify your charts as well. Okay, this is profit. Let's go back and let's check, in this case, the other event that was quite unpredictable unless we would have known that at that moment there were the non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rates reports that were being released by the central banks. So let's check, in this case, US dollar and CAD. Apply. Okay, in this case we would have had a little bit more of information, because if we would have been trading on the USD CAD, indeed, let's also make me do this on this chart as well, so we can also compare by observing the CAD that was above the USD, but watching the oscillation of the CAD that was negative, and the USD that was almost flat. If we had a situation that, of course, we would have been unaware of this part of the chart, so we would have had this kind of situation. And also do the same thing here. Let's say we were at 38 periods before, 37, 38, 40 periods. Okay, so let's say 40 periods, 40, 57, 40, 40. Okay, so at 13:45. So let's move on. Okay. Okay, so that was the moment in time for the analysis of the dollar CAD. If I had to trade the dollar CAD, by having a negative, a downwards oscillation of the CAD and a flat oscillation of the dollar, if I had to choose between going long or going short with USD CAD, I would have certainly said USD CAD long, because CAD is falling and USD is rising, always knowing that anyway I would have had other more accuracy in my readings because of that event of the non-farm payroll as every first Friday of the week. Okay, so if we check that moment in time, let me grab the proper chart, USD CAD, I would have been somehow long in USD CAD at this moment in time. So let me do that with the proper color. Sorry, huh? Make it a little bit more. I want to do it that way, okay. In this case we have a buy situation. Okay, so in this case, at this moment in time, even if I would have been down of some, I don't know, 1 pip, 2 pips, 3 pips, who cares, I would have said I'm going long. Again, CAD is falling, USD is flat, so if CAD is going down, if CAD is weak and USD is not weak, the result is that USD CAD, it's going upwards, okay, and that what happened. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the 6th bar. So 1 hour and a half after, 1 hour and a half later. Again, from this point in time, we are having 40 periods, which is that at this point in time we would have not had all the historical information that then we had. And it could have been different, but by having this and having some readings on the market information, the tools that are available on the internet for as regard this kind of fundamental analysis, we would have complete our readings. As well as, let's say for example, that by recalling back the GBP and by having a reading at this point in time, let's say from 45 periods ago, of, let's say, GBP CAD, and let's put also here GBP CAD. Okay, by being around this time, we had this movement of the currencies, which was real, but also the oscillation that was taken, something like that. So let's go and check, in this case at 45, which is around this, sorry, let me grab properly the thing. So let's say not 45 but 47. Okay, so let's go back. 47, 40, 45, 46, around here, 47. Around this area that we will check now. Let's put this here because this is for the USD CAD. So again, GBP is getting strong in the oscillation and the confirmation with the movement of the currency. CAD is getting weak accordingly to this movement as well. If we go and check, let's see, GBP CAD at this point in time, in this case, so let's grab another. We know GBP and CAD, they are pretty volatile, so we could have expect a little bit of more movement. So maybe if we would have entered the markets around this area, we could expect a drawdown of 10 pips. Okay, but we would have been long, GBP long, CAD short, so GBP CAD long, and 12 periods after, so 12 is 3 hours after, we had this spike up of 120 pips. Okay, so in this case, of course, we have a completely different setup for as regard the logical part, because now this is not settled at all, and even if it's not settled, somehow I'm having the information of, look, you know, these values has to be updated, in the sense that, for example, in this case I could put a kind of formula like that says to me, let me check what I could do just to give you also an information on this part. Let's say that as I'm studying the oscillation, basically I would like to understand if something is going up or down. Okay, so basically what I'm saying, if the period 1 is let's take it this way. If the period 1 is higher than the previous period, I'm going long, and if the period 1 is lower than the period 0 or previous period, then I'm going short. So in this case, what we do an if formula where I'm saying that if, in this case I'm doing this for the very first cell, and then I propagate as usual the information. So what I'm saying is that if this period is greater than the previous period, because I'm always comparing these movements, so if this period is greater than the period, then put a buy statement. Oh my god, come on. Else, if this information is opposite, so K3 is less than, K2 is less than K3, then sell. This is very simple. I'm not writing here, for example, the condition where they are the same, which they are equal, but that can be implemented, but this is just for demonstration purposes. And then I hit enter. So now if I propagate this logical section, okay, let's see if I did it right. Let's go, you can see here the periods as well, for because they are good for calculation. Let's see if there's something was like that. Okay, you can see that GBP, let me just do also this, because this way it's more efficient to see. Okay, about 47, let's see, 47. Can you see the numbers here? Sorry, huh? I made it too much. I hope you can see. Okay, let's just do this. I don't want to mess up too much with the numbers and the formula. Let's say that this is the 47. Okay. Is that clear? 47. Okay. So at this point in time, GBP, which is this column, is telling me buy, and of course I would have this information right here if I was 47 bars ago. Now that time has passed, now these values are progressively falling down, but if I was at this point in time, I would have had, by my logic, applied on my formula, oscillator formula, I would have also a confirmation here of a buy for as regard GBP, and for as regard the CAD, I would have had a sell. Okay, so this way this section works. Okay. Also, we can check on this graphical representation of normalized 28 currency pairs and find out example, the GBP CAD situation. Okay, so if we exclude everything and we go only on a GB CAD, okay, at 47 I would have had this kind of movement, and as we notice is exactly the movement from right to left, but if we check the charts is from left to right, and it's the same thing, because this is a graphical, normalized, coherent representation of all the pairs, currency pairs in this case, that we can use for comparison and confirmation. Okay. So at the end, the possibilities are unlimited. If you have some creativity or ideas that you would like to apply to your charts, instead of using that boring and unuseful indicators, but you want to apply your math, it's a bit complicated because you have to code everything, and also you have to get the currencies values, not the currency pair, the currencies value, 8 values only, and then you focus on that, and then you build your currency pairs with reverse engineering, applying with some formulas that gives you a kind of indicator of divergence, or you can study, you know, the divergence. With that you can do a lot of stuff, but basically I use an analysis that goes with oscillators to have a confirmation. Then I also take care of the beginning of the London session, the American session, the Asian session, and also I keep in mind that there are some days where there are some macro events that are occurring that can drastically move the prices. Therefore, I can decide to operate or to stay out of the markets for certain hours. This way I can control, reduce my risk, and live healthy and with not too much stress along the way. Okay. At the end of the journey of a week, I have anyway a very positive performance, and this is undoubted. Okay. So it's about an hour that I'm talking. I'm very tired now, and I would like also to relax, but I know that for the ones that participated to this project, it's almost a duty for me to be useful and also to inspire other people that maybe are not using my exact tools, but at the same time are involved into this stuff and would like to analyze the Forex market by using Excel, spreadsheets and math, and give them some practical hints. So I also gave some kind of ideas on formulas and how to apply them in order to be more accurate and precise in the analysis, and what I have been showing in these situations is pretty clear and undoubted. So I always invite you to double check with your charts, with your broker, so there will be no misunderstanding. Okay, all this said, I truly thank you for watching and having the patience to watch until this moment. Thank you for watching, for subscribing, for supporting the project, for writing me emails and also some compliments. I really appreciate that. It's part of my motivation. And I don't know, maybe next video what I will do would be also depending on what I receive via email as request. So I strongly take that in consideration for creating new videos. But this is all for now, and as usual, I wish you good life, good weekend in this case, so have fun and good space and good time. Bye.